welcome to the premiere episode of what we are calling What Won This Week. The world's a mess and there's a lot of bad news every single day. And we at Geekscape want to hold on to the positivity as much as we can. So we've created this weekly show that'll be happening every Friday at 4 p.m. as long as there's at least two people willing to jump on and talk about good things that happened that week, where we can celebrate the big wins, whether it is pop culture, sports, or in your personal life. And for our kickoff episode, we've got two great guests here. We have got Katie Hampton, napping through Happy Hour and Christian Cringe, and of Marvel Movie Talk and the Geekscape Book Club, Eric Connor.
Yeah. Oh,
who is currently not has a microphone working. Might be potentially muted.
Might be. It's definitely not on the digital side muted.
Let's pretend that didn't happen. Take two. We're gonna start over.
Never happened. Nailed it first time. Absolute perfection.
Happy Valentine's Day, you beautiful, beautiful people.
Happy Valentine's Day, Eric.
I was telling Katie backstage that because I'm in Philadelphia and it's Valentine's Day and it's the Eagles championship parade, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. My girlfriend's kids all have off from school, and they also have off for President's Day. So we're getting 4 straight uninterrupted with school days back to back to back. But actually something very adorable happened. I have to give a huge shout out to her oldest child, Logan. He asked if we could play Army together. He boiled down like all of his like different Army figures, like the ones from the 60s. Turns out kids still play with them. Those things are still hot. I said, I have to do something with your younger brother. I'll be back in like 5 minutes, set up your armies, and then I'll set up mine. And it was like a capture the flag type situation. And usually Logan doesn't let you win in those circumstances. It's like no matter what you have, his characters can everything and anything. So we were having that circumstance, except that like he was letting my characters win a lot, and I thought that's strange. So finally I have killed all of his figures, and I'm like, all right, I'm coming in to take the flag. And I move my characters in, and that's when I'm like, wait, where did you put your flag? And he goes, haha! And all of a sudden, on the coffee table next to where we were playing, he had set up a whole second army with.
Oh, you walked right into his trap.
I did.
Into his trap.
I want you to do a 9-year-old's trap. I don't know how that happened.
Was he like muttering under his breath, like, and then in the morning, look to the east?
It literally felt like that. It was brilliant.
No,
it was
the movie Glory,
brilliant.
where they make it through and then they get all hit by cannonballs and they get buried. And that's the end of the film. It's not a very happy film.
No, it wasn't happy for my soldiers either, honestly. But I was very proud of him for top tier strategery that he pulled off on that game. I'll go last on this. Eric, you had something that you wanted to talk about that was a news story about my area that was filling you with joy. So why don't we start with that?
Sure thing. So, in fact, I'm trying to find the young child's name. I have my own kind of, in fact, my name today, Eric 215 for the Philly impaired. 215 was the Philly area code. The area code, none of that 610 crap.
How dare you? That's my area code.
I know what I said. Let's say it again, even if I wasn't muted. But I have this weird relationship with Philly sports because my family's all New Yorkers. So I was raised a Giants fan and a Mets fan in Philly territory in Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware, though, is basically Philly. So I love Eagles fans. There's no group of people I'd rather be called the F word than by them. They really do it with such grace and charisma and charm. And so for me, it is a curious thing. Like when the Giants are out of it, which this season happened about 3 minutes into the first game, it's hard not to root for the Eagles, even though I would never give my friends from back home the pleasure of admitting I'm rooting for their team. But this case here, how can we not root for the Eagles? And you know, I know this is not a political show, but the idea that Trump hates them so much
Yeah.
just made it all the sweeter to watch what they did. But even before that, there's this young Eagles fan, and I'm grabbing his name. His name is Andre Howard. He's 10 years old. And as you know, unfortunately, there was that tragic plane crash that happened really like I think it was was it South Philly?
It was in South Philly. That was, I mean, there's like terrifying footage that you can find from people's Ring cameras
Oh, a
of them like
populated
leaving
area.
like they're like leaving their house to get food, and all of a sudden there's just a fireball behind them, and they like rush back into their home because they don't know
Oh.
what's happening. And
Right.
it was some weird circumstance where like a helicopter was taking off from a local hospital and just something went wrong almost immediately upon takeoff
Yeah,
and
it was like a
crashed.
medvac plane basically.
Yeah.
And so it's a really populated area. So I mean, it's kind of miraculous. And trust me, we know it's what won this week. It gets to the
Yeah.
positive, I promise. But you have to go through the rain to get the rainbow, as Katie Hampton always says.
That's
Um,
exactly what I say.
I mean, that's your whole life right
Mhm.
there in one quote, one Dolly Parton quote. So this young kid, 10 years old, he's in the car with his family, and the plane crash really populated area. So he like shielded his sister, his younger sister. He got hit with some shrapnel. Thank God he lived. And when he woke up Monday before the Super Bowl. First two questions: is my sister okay? And she was. And did the Eagles win the Super Bowl? They hadn't played yet. He had no idea how long he was out. And so this kid is already, I mean, like, I don't know how they don't bring him out at the beginning of next season. I'm this kid is a legend already. I mean, surpassing really all the great Phillies like Rocky and Tasty Cakes.
Yeah.
This kid is right up there with both of them. And then the team really embraced him. So Saquon Barkley, who is someone who I'm so glad he's getting his time in the sun, and I can't believe the Giants let him go, but I'm so happy for him. He's a mensch. He is such a legit dude and a remarkable talent. I'm glad he finally got the ability to fly with, even if it's with the opposing team. And then AJ Brown, the receiver, promised him he would see him after the game, and he lived up to his promise, of course. So that was something that I just made me so proud of Philly. I went to college in Philly. I just grew up being insulted by many Philly fans, but also because I root for the Sixers and the Flyers. Like, I also know Philly love and Philly hate. I've had both in equal measure. And I was so proud of the city, of this kid, of everything about it. So to me, it checked off every single box. Also, as a parent of two young dudes, just how brave he was protecting his sister. I mean, what's not to love? And that to me, whatever else you come up with, that's one this week.
No, I think that's a big. I love that as the first ever thing on what won this week.
Yeah.
Katie, you had bounced around between a couple different things. Did you ever land on a final decision that you wanted to go with?
You know, I have to give absolute mad respect to Serena Williams this week.
Oh, yes.
I mean, look, I'm not a Super Bowl person. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl this year because I was filming during it. But I did watch the halftime show when I got home on Monday, and holy cow, her appearance in the Super Bowl halftime show was incredible. And there was a lot that I didn't really know or understand previously. Like, I didn't know why Serena was there. I was just like, oh, how cool. Yay, go you. But then I was realizing how much everyone was exploding. So little context for some who may not know the lore, but Serena Williams, obviously one of the greatest tennis players of all freaking time. She apparently during the 2012 Olympics, Summer Olympics, she celebrated at the end of her win, getting the gold with a small little crip walk, sea walk, if you will. Usually, crip walk, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a walk that was brought up out here. It was from the local Crips. It was usually something that was done as a dance, almost to be like, haha, on your grave after a murder. So there is that context, but it's also Serena Williams just being like, look, I'm going to celebrate as I do. And the media went after her like crazy, like they would today, and like they are today. And saying that she's ghetto, that she's all this, all that, and whatnot. Um, Also, during that time, I think around like 2015 or something like that, apparently Mr. Drake, of all of these, I'm not usually like a celebrity, like gossip person.
Now, here's the thing. We're about to tap into a thing. Barb and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, from day one, could not be torn away from my phone during this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. So like the build up to this halftime show over like the last 6 months has been glorious. But yes, on top of all of this, not only is she doing this crypt walk, ha ha, you're dead, I'm dancing on your grave, she's doing it to a song about Drake, who turns out was an ex-boyfriend of Serena Williams.
It wasn't really confirmed. Like, Serena's never really outwardly said that she's dated Drake, but he apparently creepily went to a lot of her matches. They think that there might have been a fling or something like that happened in 2015. Anyway, whatever the case was, it didn't last long. I don't know all of the intimate details of that. I'm not a celebrity like gossip person, but it sounds like she was very happy, continued to win her life, continued to do some amazing things. Then in 2022, freaking Drake wrote a song basically whining about the fact that they were not together, and then calling her now husband, whose name is Alexis, and a very sweet guy, really stand-up guy, calling him a groupie. And then he responded in the classiest way by saying, I'm a groupie towards my wife and my daughter. How great is that? Well done. You could have been Doug Emhoff. Like, you're a solid dude. And then not long after that, there were, I think it was the 2024 ESPY Awards, where Serena said, if I've learned anything this year, it's not to have beef with Kendrick. And then she played a little bit of They Not Like Us. That was pretty much her only comment on the potential relationship or anything like that when it was in regards to just Drake. Then flash forward 2025, we're here at the Super Bowl, and not only is it in the middle of the song They Not Like Us, where it mentions Drake very obviously, and calling him out as a pedophile because of his interactions with Millie Bobby Brown back in the day, but also having Serena's up there dancing and saying this was the best 10 seconds of her life, and saying that, Wimbledon would have fined her, like, despite all of the media backlash and all of this stuff. And wow, Sam is up there being Uncle Sam. Can we talk about that?
That's amazing.
Talking about like, no, too ghetto, too loud. Literally the things that the media was shouting at Serena Williams from day one of when she was in all of the amazing tennis, all of the stuff that, like, her being too loud, her throwing her racket on the ground. That is her celebrating on the grave of this kind of mentality, it feels like, in my opinion. So I say Serena Williams definitely won the week, and she has no longer commented about like her involvement in the Super Bowl. She's very excited that she got to do it. She was very happy. She got to talk to Kendrick's people. There's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, which is really great. But she is also very classy, and she's just like, I did it. It was fun. And bye now.
Well, I mean, the halftime show is a big chunk of what won this week for me. And I will say that there's an additional piece of look, there are like essays about this halftime show and like how symbolic and how many layers there were. The only other guest appearance in that entire halftime show was a duet that Kendrick Lamar did with SZA, who is another confirmed ex of Drake's. So it was just like, it's just like the layers of like, not only did I run away with a bunch of Grammys, not only did I get to perform on the biggest, most watched event of the year, I did it with one person you definitely dated and one person you may have stalked creepishly for years. Like,
Matt, I'm surprised that he didn't bring out like the women that he dated in Degrassi High.
it's the amount of, but it's like, I mean, my like pick for what won this week was the entirety of Super Bowl Sunday. And this is coming from me, not a sports person, but like it was like the best Sunday I think I've had in a long time, right? I get home and we actually ran out to the mall first because we're like, no one's gonna be at the freaking mall. And we went to, because there was an FYE closing down, and Matt Kelly's not going to say no to $2 physical media. So I loaded up on that, but we came back home just in time to watch the entirety of the Puppy Bowl. The whole time I was cheering for Team Fluff, and was super excited for a Team Fluff win.
I lost
cried an outrageous amount of times. Like, they would just be like, and here's another cute dog that's up for adoption, and I'd just start weeping. Like, I was just like, oh no, why are they doing this? I can't afford a dog right now. So watch the Puppy Bowl. We're watching the Puppy Bowl while eating wings and cheesesteaks because we're two Philly people just prepping for this. Loaded fries as well. Can't say no to a loaded fry. But
you know what didn't win this week is Matt's cholesterol.
Cholesterol definitely did not.
The biggest loser of the week.
It was the biggest number.
Because while we were at the mall, there was Girl Scouts, so we bought like 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. There's a photo I sent my family of Barb and I in bed watching the Super Bowl, and all that you can see in the picture is the TV, the blankets, and all of the boxes of Girl Scout cookies open.
So hot.
Like, it was
that is slower, man.
The best, right? But as I sent you a thing, Katie, yesterday, when I was just like, I need to give you context for why, like, even me as a person who could not care less about sports, this Super Bowl was like, it reminded me of when you watch that documentary, King of Kong, and like the lines of good guy versus bad guy are just like so apparently drawn, right? Like, this Super Bowl was America versus Kansas City, Missouri. like that was like,
and Kansas City, Kansas. Remember, there's sort of the I think it went across state boundaries.
But like the context that you need to have is that the Eagles won the Super Bowl during Trump's last presidency and infamously said, nah, we're good, to his invite to visit the White House. And he's been fuming about it forever. So every interview that he's taken about him going to the Super Bowl was like, oh, well, obviously I'm cheering for the Chiefs. They're America's team. And the rest of America was kind of like, the hell they are.
Yeah.
So even if you watch the Super Bowl, there's this amazing moment at the very start when the teams come out to the field and they announce the Kansas City Chiefs first, and there's audible booing. Like, the arena is filled with boos. And then when the Eagles come out, you can't even hear the DMX entrance song that they chose because the crowd is screaming for them. Like, this is, holy shit, the entire arena is on the Eagles side right now. And what ended up happening kept me so excited watching, because there was this situation of like the Kansas City Chiefs. So behind the scenes, if you talk to most football fans, not all, but most football fans, they will tell you that they think that the refs have been helping the Kansas City Chiefs, that like they will make calls that are always in their favor. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree with that conspiracy theory, but what did happen was that this team, who like was going for a three-peat, that they were going to win the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, scored 0 points for 3 of the 4 quarters of this Super Bowl. It was like every time that they had the ball, it got intercepted and ran into a touchdown. Like, it wasn't just that they lost. They were so belittled through every second
Yeah.
of it. Like, someone posted a stat, and this is insane that this stat is true. When Kendrick performed at halftime, he walked more yards than the Kansas City Chiefs had actually walked up until that point of the game.
Whilst singing, whilst having a bunch of Americans just being like, I don't understand his
like it
music."
was, and that's the thing. Like,
Trump would have
most of the
hated
time,
that
Super
halftime
Bowl
show.
Sunday is
I think he
the
did.
day that I like go to my friend's house for a party, and I pay attention to the commercials and the halftime show and very little else. But this was like Kendrick defeating Drake and the Eagles destroying Kansas City, like Donald Trump getting booed out of the building. Like,
But Taylor Swift got booed too, though. So there was just a lot of anger.
I
there was a
mean,
lot of,
yeah,
but the Taylor Swift thing was more like she's
with the Chiefs.
dating someone tied to the Chiefs. But
right.
like,
Well, and it's interesting because I do know like actual Kansas City Chiefs fans before the whole Taylor Swift thing is, and like it's nice because Taylor has brought in a whole new
a
audience,
female demographic.
sure.
Yeah,
a female
for sure.
demographic that people are super into. I'm still like I'm a Taylor fan, but I could care less about football. But the fact that like people are sort of like not seeing like these clearly defined lines where like Taylor has nothing to do with the Super Bowl. So like other than like people being there and having more security around her. And every interaction I've heard of Taylor Swift with anybody real or whatever has always been lovely.
Yeah.
She seems like a wonderful person. So I don't understand the booing of her.
To quote
I do
Christopher
love
Falios, she's one of the 3 billionaires he doesn't wish would die.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
Which is about as much as a compliment as you could give a person, because like similar to a like Bill Gates, it feels like Taylor Swift is actively trying to give away enough money to not be a billionaire at any given moment.
Right.
Like, I think that the stories are like every football game that she's at, she like tips every person in the suite like thousands and thousands of dollars.
You can see like there's videos of her tipping like the maintenance workers on the way out. I think of the Super Bowl, she's just like handing them like wads of cash, and and she's been on record saying, "I love tipping," which is not something you hear from shady millionaires.
Yeah, Donald Trump has never once said that sentence.
Never once. Never once.
Tipping the scales, maybe, but
but
but yeah, I mean, I don't think that what won this week will be quite as literal week after week of the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
No.
Every episode, only Eagles.
But boy, what a first like weekend to come off of for this, because I truly believe that the combination of that Eagles win and that Kendrick Lamar halftime show, there are people that are going to complain about both of those things. But the people who aren't complaining about those things are the people who needed those wins right now in the worst kind of way. We're all looking for symbolic wins, and like America's sport giving us the most symbolic good guys defeating the bad guys that we've seen in a really long time was awesome. Because it was like, I'm surprised I haven't seen this, but like, you know how people would just take movie clips and put like teams' names on certain characters? Like, the first 3/4 of that game was the Hulk smashing Loki around. Like, it was it was insane.
I've never heard you speak so passionately about football ever.
I probably never will again. This was
you're a believer now, Matt. You were a believer before, but now you're a believer.
And different levels. Eric, you talked about, you sent a message in our private chat. Like, there's literally at the Eagles parade today, there's an image of a roasted pig in the form of Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. But like, here's the thing. On top of that, you can also find footage at the Super Bowl where some Philly fans also just were roasting a pig in a shopping cart that they stole, because that's the Philadelphia way. Like, we were talking about this today with Barb's kids, because they didn't know the tale of Hitchbot, which is like among my top 5 favorite. Like, if I'm trying to explain Philadelphia to people, that's one of my go-to stories. And I'm seeing that look on Katie's face where she's like, what the hell is Hitchbot?
Yeah, I
Okay.
might have been trying to Google it, but like, but what
Again,
is
for the
that?
Philly impaired.
Yeah. So Hitchbot was this robot built in Canada,
Oh boy.
and like robot in quotes. It was
Okay.
basically like a can with like 2 fake arms and legs attached to it with a sign that said like, "Hi, I'm Hitchbot and I'm trying to hitchhike across the United States. Please take me to like whatever
The
destination
next
you choose."
location, yeah.
And it made it all the way through Canada without a problem. It crossed the border and made it through all of New England. And it lasted 30 seconds in Philadelphia before it was beaten and ripped apart for scrap metal. Like, and you can just Google pictures of Hitchbot,
Hitchbot.
and it is so funny and sad to see the before and after of
Well,
Hitchbot.
And it's one of those things too. It's like we can speak of this with, on one hand, you're like, oh, how horrible this one thing that is representative of human spirit and human kindness. It's like, yeah, but then part of human spirit is the spirit of Philadelphia, the spirit of 76.
Yeah.
And in essence, like that is, I mean, okay, so my right above my shoulder, a little shout out to Penn. So when I was a student there, the football team would play teams like Dartmouth. So we're not talking like it's like Notre Dame, USC, or any of that stuff, But yeah, just like any place else, it's better to win than lose. And so when we win the conference, they would take down the goalposts. Now that's something done across this land. Here's where Philly's different. They then took the goalposts like a group of ants carrying a piece of bread and took it out of the stadium down to the Schuylkill River.
Okay.
Now, as Matt knows, the Schuylkill River is right next to the Schuylkill Expressway. And so they would throw the goalpost into the river, but this one time they almost threw it on the expressway. And it was a group of us a little farther back, and it was maybe the most joyous moment, followed by this most terrifying 30 seconds. Because I remember watching this goalpost start to go over, and that there's cars going 60 miles per hour, and everyone towards the back, including myself, were like, no, you're not over the river, for God's sake, please don't. And I watched it go down and come back up and then continue on and then go in the river. And everyone's cheering, and we watched the goalposts like go float away, like, to use Katie, a reference from another podcast, like Moses floating down the Nile.
That's right.
But it was such a perfect moment. One of my favorite memories from college. And it also, one of my favorite memories that almost was the greatest tragedy I ever witnessed in my entire life. And that seems like Philly in a nutshell. Oh, here it is. Chatbot.
Oh my God, look at that thing.
Before and after Philadelphia.
Sorry.
We're not on Twitch.
The other great Philadelphia story, and Eric, I feel like because of the people that you know and growing up around here, this story had to have made it onto your radar as well, which was, I think this was in 2020, maybe early 2021. These weird flyers started showing up all around Philadelphia that said a simple message: I've eaten a rotisserie chicken every day this month.
Yes. Yeah.
Join me as I eat my 30th rotisserie chicken of the month.
Yep.
At the banks behind the Target on like whatever location. And then you can find the pictures, and there are thousands of people who came to just cheer this guy on, who just has a tiny little table. He's got his napkin bib, and he's just eating a rotisserie chicken to the sounds of Philadelphia cheering on every single bite.
Wasn't he the same guy that did like the entire thing of cheese puffs? And then like I feel like this is like the guy that like invites all of Philadelphia to watch him do random shit.
Honestly, Katie, it could be one guy or it could be multiple different people. That's just kind of Philadelphia.
We are legion.
We
are chicken.
Like
Philly
it is,
Banksy.
but that is like, I mean, the other story that I remember is obviously everybody knows Gritty, the Flyers mascot that is just like beloved.
So horrifying.
So my memory of Gritty was that I was at Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, and I was coming home, and I got a link, and someone was like, look at this nightmare that they've just announced as the Flyers mascot. and I'm looking at it, and I'm on Facebook, and everyone's just angry. Like, what is this? Screw this. Like, how dare, like, what are we doing? This is an embarrassment. Get on the plane, turn off my phone, fly to Philadelphia, turn the phone back on, and suddenly everybody loves Gritty. and I don't know what happened while I was in the air. It turns out that one of the Philadelphia rivals talked some trash on the Gritty design, and just immediately Philadelphia had a 180
Wake up call.
and it was just like, Gritty's incredible. And I guess the other thing I missed out was that Gritty's first like moment on the ice was as beautiful as a disaster as you could imagine, because he hits the ice, slips, falls fully back on his like concussive level fall. And because he's just a giant orange Muppet with googly eyes, there's, I think, God. Yeah.
Eric, yes.
This was my Halloween costume. And the highlight, listen, I have two beautiful sons, a beautiful wife. Maybe the highlight of my life was Gritty NHL's official Instagram said I approve this chaos.
Yeah.
That's
if we can find
phenomenal.
If you can find the picture of, I'm going to try to find this real quickly, but the picture of Gritty on his back is the most endearing. like it kind of just captures the entire collective energy of everybody.
Philadelphia as a whole, or okay.
Like, well, because it's like, it's just, let me see, falls on the ice.
This is how it began, by the way. I held this up once and I looked at him like, maybe I could be Gritty.
You could totally be Gritty.
And my first Halloween costume fell through, and thus, yes, you know.
That's phenomenal.
Did not take much. And yes, I felt seen that day in ways I've never felt seen before since.
I feel like we just need the
yeah. So that's the, like, it just captures a mood.
I should have recreated that photo, Matt. I feel like a missed opportunity happened there.
Like, it was, and there's like better photos out there, I'm sure, but there was like a photo where he is just stiff as a board and those googly eyes are just staring at the ceiling tile. Like, and it just captures this like 2016, like, I feel you, dude. Like, just laying, waiting for death. And then somehow in that same first year, like, Gritty got roped into being an Antifa mascot, and like, it was just crazy. And like, there was a quote where they're like, I think the quote was like, if the Republicans can have an orange madman, then the Democrats deserve one as well in the form of Gritty. And the fact is that the city of Philadelphia has fully just embraced that. Like, they're just like, yeah, Gritty is a gender neutral like hardcore socialist that doesn't like what's like the bio of Gritty on the official website is just like, this is who he is, this is what this city is. So again, it kind of added to that, like, the Eagles' victory felt like a world victory.
Well, people. The Philly Fanatic, you know, who, Katie, I'm sure, even if you're not a baseball fan,
he's like the most famous mascot of all time.
Well, well, and he used to get, and if you all, you know, don't click away now, but after the show, unless Matt, we'll wait for Matt's next podcast, which will be 1 minute after our show ends. There's this great video of Tommy Lasorda versus the Philly Fanatic. Tommy Lasorda was manager of the Dodgers at the time, and he hated the Fanatic. And Philly Fanatic was making fun of Tommy Lasorda specifically, and he had like a dummy, and like Tommy Lasorda attacked him. And it's just like, that to me is like Philly Fanatic. The idea that you could find a mascot that could have the same lore as that one was impressive, right? And at first glance, I think the first time you saw Gritty, Matt, admit it, you were kind of like, what the F? And then
what is it? What
later,
nightmare Muppet is this?
Yeah, like, this is nightmare fuel. And then you realize exactly it's nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
And he and I love, by the way, he's inclusivity, always like championing LGBTQ plus. I mean, like, all about pride. And so it's like, how do you not love this thing that is so very Philly, and also, by the way, so very modern? You know, in that it is someone who just loves everything and yet is an absolute mess.
you know what? This is going to sound super biased, and I apologize to Katie, the West Coaster, but I think the reality is that Philadelphia won this week. Like, not
Yep.
the team, just the whole damn city. Metaphorically, the city of Philadelphia really truly won this week. It gave us all, in a world where we are struggling for any type of wins, it gave us the most metaphorical and literal win of February. Oh no.
What day is it? What year is
Where-
it even?
who
Where
is
are we?
In a long January, that is for sure.
We
It
just
was a very
we
long.
just need Brittany to
I
come in.
must compliment that I do feel like February has been moving at double the speed that January felt like it was moving. Like we're already halfway out as of today, which is more than I can say about January, where every day felt like a week.
Yeah.
Um,
And thus the start of what this podcast will be.
yeah. Well, I think that that's a pretty good little test run of this show. But before we sign off, obviously, this is going to be the most timely podcast we have because it's happening in real time. So, is there anything anybody needs to promote or plug that's like going on that you want to shout out, shows that people should be listening to or attending or whatever? We'll start with you, Eric 215.
Eric 215, also known as Eric Connor. Well, you can always see me in the dark nether regions of Geekscape, hanging out with the fabulous Katie and the pretty okay Christian and the fabulous Dave Brody. In fact, the only one who's not fabulous sometimes is Christian or me, over at Marvel Movie Talk and the Geekscape Book Club. And then also, Katie, am I going to be on stage with you on Tuesday night? Is that what I've heard?
That is right. That is correct. If you're out in the LA area, please go to the Pack. The Pack on Tuesday, February 18th at 7:00. If you're into improv, you can come and do a set on your own, or you can wait until 8:00 when Eric joins us on stage and starts to do monologues that we will pull inspiration for improvs on. And I'm very excited about that. I think you're going to crush this. This is going to be a really good time. And it's free. So, and there's free parking. Guys, there's no reason not to go.
Your money, half your money back.
Half your money back. You can donate some money if you're like, oof, this needs some more,
Yeah.
Eric Connor.
Love that work here. Just please,
please keep
$2 and go get a shave.
I don't have anything that's coming up in the next week that needs to get a quick shout out beyond just like general podcasts that exist around me. But I do want to shout out a video that we dropped yesterday. Actually, 2 videos that we dropped this week. Katie did a video with Tessa Markle of the Femme Regard podcast, all about the life of Charles Scholes and the Peanuts comics. And then the very next day, Christian Blatt gave us a beautiful 6-minute video that's just all of the things you may have forgotten about in the MCU before you see Captain America Brave New World. It's fully spoiler free. It's literally just, hey, these are some plot points that happened in fucking Winter Soldier that you may have forgotten about. Here's a character from the Hulk movie from like over a decade ago that you may have forgotten about. Just kind of refreshing you on things. But I will give a preemptive mark your calendars for March 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as Kate and I become dishonorable judges in the new live streaming comedy show that we're doing, Internet Supreme Court. Also stay tuned because I'm sure Eric is going to end up as a guest judge sooner rather than later.
Can I be Rusty the Bailiff?
Yes.
Actually, we decided that everybody is guest judge. You don't even actually really get to give your name.
Wait, do people wear like a mask or like the Rorschach mask?
So. Oh my gosh!
If you did, I would love
voice
it.
Modulator thing.
But we've been doing the test runs of it, and I think that this is going to be so much fun. So, InternetSupremeCourt.com is kind of your one-stop shop for where you can watch the stream if you don't know where to go. But it'll be right here on this YouTube page and on our Twitch and all that other stuff. So stay tuned for more of that. And hey, try to find a win this week, everybody. We're signing off. Goodbye, we're signing off. So long, everybody. Bye.